Hello everyone, it's Maddie. So today I'm going to be telling a story that I have literally been wanting to tell since the beginning of my channel. I have reasons why I have not told this. Basically, how this story happened, I worked with this person. The reason that I could tell the story now is he no longer works for the company. I have not been at my work. I ended up having to quit my job because of this situation and going to college and stuff like that. My first semester, I kind of just took it easy. I'm gonna get into this story and I hope it's not too confusing, but it probably will be because there's just a lot of points that I want to hit on this story, and I might even end up doing a part 2 to this. I have no clue. So you guys are gonna have to comment down below if you want to see this, and if I don't get everything in that I want to say, I will do a part 2 to this video if you guys want to see that. So let's just get into the story. Let's just get in. So this story takes place I think about a year ago. I want to say that this happened maybe in like the late winter or spring of last year. So I think it was like maybe March or April or something like that. Basically, I worked at this place. I'm not going to give away too many details because I don't want you guys to find this person. I don't want the person that I'm talking about to see this video because, you know, at the end of the day, this person was very nice to me, but I do think it went too far. My mom knows a lot of this story, so maybe I'll have her on and kind of talk about it. I don't know yet. But she kind of got involved with it too, needless to say. So, you know, we're gonna see where this goes. So this story, like I said, takes place in like March or April of last year, and basically, I worked at this place. I'm not going to say too much, like I said, but I worked at this place where inside the building, they kind of rented out, the owners rented out sections of the building to different companies. This guy worked in one of these sections that was rented out. For me, honestly, I had worked at this place for 3 years. I enjoyed my job a lot, never really had an issue because I never talked to the employees at the other sections of the building. So wherever was rented out, even though we had to like kind of pass through them time to time, like because we all kind of shared a space, let's put it that way, but it was different companies, different services, stuff like that. So I really never like talked to any of the employees that whole time that I worked there. I was always kind of busy doing my own work and stuff like that. So that's kind of the vibe I'm giving you guys. A lot of the people that worked in this one specific section for this one company, they were from a different country. They kind of all sort of knew each other, so that was kind of how everybody worked for it. It was sort of a situation where, oh, this person knows this person, so they got them a job. Maybe this is their son, maybe this is their nephew, I don't know. This guy that I'm going to be talking about, he was sort of there all the time. He worked crazy hours. He worked like, I want to say it was like 72 hours a week or something. Like, it was insane. Definitely like illegal. He was always there. And like I said in the beginning, I really didn't talk to anybody who worked in the different areas of the store. But this guy, he was always there. And typically, you know, we didn't even know any of their names because it was sort of like employees would be in and out. You know, they never really had a steady job. Sometimes they'd be coming from different locations of the store. It was just not very steady. But this guy, I noticed him, and he would be there, you know, shift after shift. Every time I was there, he was there. And it was just sort of weird because, you know, that never happens. So he was always there, and I was sort of beginning to notice that. A lot of the people also noticed that where I worked, and they would tell me, they'd be like, hey, don't talk to this guy, he's a little sketchy, he's a little weird. And instantly, right off the bat, I was like, that's not very nice. Like, he looks like a nice guy. And I'm gonna tell you guys this detail just because I think it's a big part of the story. He was probably like in his late 50s, I want to say. He was probably like 56, 57 years old. I don't know. So kind of just setting the scene for you. So it kind of got to the point where I would be working. I worked about 3 or 4 days a week at this time because I was in school and stuff like that. And I'd be working and I would just see this guy every time. Like literally every time I worked a shift, he was there. It was kind of weird. I was like, oh my god, did they like not have any other employees or anything like that? Like, he would be the only employee there. and he was a good worker. I was a good worker. Like I consider myself to be a good worker. I always kind of was moving around, stuff like that. And this guy must have noticed that, because he told me, he said, hey, you know what, you're a really good worker. I always see you moving around and stuff. And he did speak a different language. I just want to say that. So his first language was not English. So he had a little bit of an accent, and it was sort of hard to understand him at times. You know, I began to really not mind this guy. It was like, you know what, he's very nice. I don't know why people are so like rude about it. Everybody's like, don't talk to him, he's a creep. I close with him. I make my boyfriend come because he creeps on me. And I'm like, really? Like, I don't see it. And it wasn't really affecting me to a point where I felt like, oh my god, I need help. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was fine. He was nice to me. I was nice to him. It was what it was. Kind of something that was interesting was that I didn't really know this guy's name, and he didn't know my name until like 3 or 4 months of us working together. Like, and I say working together, but I just mean like he would acknowledge me, he would always say hi to me and stuff like that. And we didn't really know each other's names. We didn't have to wear like name tags or anything like that. So it was just sort of interesting. Needless to say, time goes on. I kind of become like this guy's friend in a way. I think I just felt bad because everybody that worked with me, all the employees that worked with me, it was basically all of them against him. It was just really, really strange, and I felt like I don't want to be like a bully towards him. I kind of became this guy's like friend. I was like, yeah, I don't know why they're like that to you, because I was sort of embarrassed also. I was like, why is everybody like so rude to this guy? This guy was nothing but nice to me, so I was always just nice to him. Kind of time goes on, people continue to tell me, because they notice that I'm like talking to this guy, and it's not like I'm talking to this guy like, oh, I'm talking to this guy. Like, you know what I mean? I would just be doing some work, and you know, he would have a conversation with me. I kind of began to learn a little bit about him, and you know, everything was great. You know, we were just friends at work. People kind of noticed that we were friendly with each other, and it was literally noticeable just because I was the only one that talked to him. Everybody else was like, don't talk to him, ignore him. Everybody was just like, he's creepy, like ignore him, don't talk to him, don't say anything to him, literally just like ignore him. He would talk to people trying to be nice, and they would just ignore him. And I was just like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, that's the main reason that kind of we began to be like friends at work, because he would talk to me, and I just, what am I gonna do, ignore him? Like, I'm not the type of person to do that. How do you just ignore a person if they're talking to you? Like, it's fucking weird. I don't know. I began to learn about him. I learned that he had a family in his country, as he said, and you know, I was like, oh wow, you know, and I kind of really began to feel bad for this guy, and I was like, you know what, I want to be like a friend to this guy, just because, you know, throw a dog a bone. Throw a dog a bone. He was a nice guy. He was always nice to me. I kind of began to learn about this guy. He told me he had a wife, he had a couple of kids, and you know, he never got to see them. He moved to the United States and kind of never really gets to see his family. He's like taking care of his mom. It was just, I learned a lot about this guy. And you know, I began to feel bad. I was like putting myself in his shoes. I'm like, you know what? Everybody I work with is so mean to this guy. I'm just gonna, you know, I work like 3 or 4 days a week. Every time I see him, just have a little conversation with him, and you know, kind of try to make him feel a little bit better. A couple of, I want to say months later, this continues to go on. I'm still talking to this guy. I still am trying to be a good friend to him and stuff like that. Just when we're at work. So everything was kind of going normal. That kind of goes on for a couple of months, and my friend actually lives in a development really close to where I used to work. So we kind of drove through, and it was a drive-through. I'm gonna say that. That's the only information I'm giving you guys. Only information I'm giving you guys. So we drove through the drive-through, and I took my friends. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be awesome. Let's go get some whatever. Let's go get some stuff. And we went through the drive-through, and this guy was working. Kind of just out of my mouth, like it just slipped out of my mouth, you know, and I was not saying it in like a super serious way, but I said, oh guys, this is my best friend. Like, I was not thinking anything of it. This would be the turning point, you guys. The turning point for this story. I introduced my friends to this guy that I worked with, and you know, he was smiling from ear to ear. He was so happy. He was like, oh my god, you guys have to come in sometime. I'll give you free food. I'll give you free drinks. I'm like, oh god, okay. And you know, I didn't think anything of it. We drove off, we went back to my friend's house, didn't think anything of it. My next shift rolls around, and this was a couple days later, I want to say, and this guy, immediately I noticed this, it's just different. The scene is different. The mood is different. So I'm doing something in the back, because we all shared a space at the work or whatever, and I'm doing something, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you know the other day when you came through the drive-thru?" And he's telling me, you know, "Oh, your friends were so nice," or whatever, "they'll have to come in." But then he goes, "You know when you called me your best friend?" And I was like, yeah. Needless to say, he was maybe taking that a little bit too far. I don't know. Like I said, he's from a different country, so I don't know if that means something more there or something like that. But he really took it far, you guys. He took it far. He was like, "I want to be your best friend in life." He kept telling me this. He said, "I want to be your best friend in life. Anything you need," he said, "you need a ride somewhere, you need money, you need anything, I will give it to you." That sort of happened. It was a little weird, but then ever since that happened, that one incident, it was just really, really weird. And there would be things that I would say over like just the couple of months of talking to him at work and stuff like that. I would, you know, tell him about my life a little bit, and, you know, I told him about my mom and stuff like that. And he then wanted to meet my mom, and he's like, "Hey, when is your mom coming in? I want to meet your mom." And he would always just be like, "I want to meet mom, I want to meet mom." There would be times where he would just like say these weird things at times, and I would just kind of act like I didn't hear it. Like, I know I was like in the beginning of the story, like, how do you just ignore somebody? But he would say weird things that I would just act like I didn't hear it. He would be like, "What's your number? Like, can you give me your number?" and stuff like that. And me and my mom talked about this a lot when this was going on, because it kind of began to feel a little bit stressful on me. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't enjoy going to work anymore, because I think it was going a little too far, and we kind of were talking about it, and it was really, really hard for me to decipher if it was like a cultural difference, if it was just, you know, if he didn't think this was weird because it was a cultural thing. But let's put it this way, like, I was like this older man, you know, I was like 17 at the time. He would just talk to me almost like I was like a love interest. Like, it was really weird. At one point he told me he was in love with me. Like, it was really weird. But like I said, like, I did not know if it was just like a cultural difference. That was something, and I still don't know. Let's just keep going with the story. It's really hard to like not be all over the place with it. Time and time goes on, and he keeps asking for my phone number, and he's like, "What's your number? What's your number?" And, you know, I was just sort of like, I really didn't want to give away my phone number. I mean, why would I, honestly? So eventually, you know, I get to a point, I go, "Oh, I'll give you my Facebook Messenger," because I was like, listen, I cannot give this guy my phone number. He'd be texting me 24/7. I gave him my Facebook Messenger, you know, because I was just like, I cannot give this guy my phone number. I really can't. Like, it was getting way too far. I felt like really weird. Let's just put it this way, like, I felt like I was doing something wrong. It got to a point where I was like, I feel like it just, you know, it felt wrong. It didn't feel like I should be doing this. It always felt like I was doing something wrong, even though I wasn't. You know, I just felt like everything went too far. It went way too far at many points. I didn't give this guy my phone number, but I was like, hey, like, my way of sort of dodging that bullet, I was like, I'll give you my Facebook. I'll give you my Facebook. You can message me on there. Because I don't know about you guys, I don't use my Facebook. Like, I literally never use my Facebook, so I was like, it doesn't really affect me. He messaged me a lot. He would always message me. It began to feel like I was like dating this guy, honestly. Like, it was insane. He would message me like every morning. He'd be like, "Good morning, like, how are you?" And I was, at this point, I was working, this was summertime, so I was working another job. I worked this job like once a week, but I was working another job too, and I worked that a lot more. And I kind of got that job because I was like, I need to get away from this guy. It was getting to a point where it was just insane, and I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be working another job. I didn't tell him where. I said I'm gonna be working another job and I'm only gonna be here once a week, so I'm sorry, I'll see you when I see you. He got like a little bitchy about it. Like he was like, it was weird. It was so weird. Like he would just begin to be like really weird about it, and he would, you know, be pissed at me, and if I did not respond to his messages, he would just get mad. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, like I didn't see him. He really, really, really wanted to meet my mom. It was sort of weird. Like this is when I was sort of like, does he like my mom came in one time and he was like, what would you like? What would you like? I'll get you anything for free. And my mom's like, oh, thank you. Like, and I keep in mind, while this was happening, I would tell my mom and my boyfriend like everything weird that happened, like right after it happened. Like when I would come home, I would just be like, oh my God, never gonna believe what happened. And the stories that I would tell at home just got weirder and weirder and more intense and more intense. So needless to say, in the period that he met my mom, he he got her number, and this was sort of my fault because I was like, he wanted my number and I was like not about to give it to her, so I was like, oh, you can have my mom's number. And my mom's like, my mom also kind of knew what was going on and she didn't want him to have my number, so she was like, yeah, just take my number. He would text my mom every day. In the very beginning of when we were like talking like friends at work or whatever, he would ask me right before I left, he'd be like, oh, what do you want? What do you want to drink for the ride? And I would always tell him, oh, I'll have a green tea, like thank you. Every shift he'd be like, hey, let me walk you out to your car. Let me walk you out to your car. It wasn't a far walk or anything, you guys, and it wasn't in like a terrible area. So he would always be like, let me walk you out to your car. And then when he would hand me my tea when on the way out, he'd be like, oh, go around the drive-thru so I can say bye to you. So one time, I would always do it because I was like, I don't want to piss this guy off, and I am really bad at saying no. So that, I think, was my biggest downfall with this whole situation. Like, I just suck at saying no. I would have to go around the drive-thru like every single time that I left my shift, and it sucked. Like, I just wanted to get out of there. I just want to get away from him. But every time I would have to go through the drive-thru, he would always, always, always be like, when you work next, when's your next shift? Like, he basically knew my schedule better than me. There would be days when I was working that I would just be doing my thing or whatever, talking to a customer, and he would walk up to me with his cell phone and he'd be like, hey, talk to my wife. Oh, talk to my kid. Like, he would put his kid on the phone with me. And, you know, his wife was always so nice to me. Like, I just, that's why I'm like, it had to be a cultural difference, because if it was like a wife in the United States and like, you know, this guy's like, oh, talk to this young girl I work with, like the wife would probably be like, is my husband like cheating on me? But she was always like, oh, I'm so glad blank has a friend in the United States finally. And that's why I kind of was always just trying to be nice to him, because I really do think it was a cultural difference. But it was just so weird, you guys. At one point, I remember he was like, what should I get my kid for Christmas? He mentioned wanting to take me back to his country. It was just so weird. I'm just sort of telling like little stories at this point. One of my shifts, somebody basically called in and it was my birthday. So my boss was like, hey, can you come in and work like a little bit? And I was like, oh, I have a birthday dinner. I can come in like for like a couple of hours if that would help. And that's what I sort of did. So I went in, he was there, surprise, surprise, and I had a change of clothes, and the shirt, let me go get it. I need to get it. So when I left my shift, I changed in the bathroom. Let me just show you the shirt. It might look a little weird, but I promise, like, I think it's really cute when it's on. It looks weird off the shelf. So this is like the shirt that I wore to my birthday dinner, and I changed at work. So basically I had that shirt and I put it on or whatever, and my next shift or whatever, he put me on the phone with his wife, and he was like, hey, remember when you went to that party? Like, he didn't really understand that it was a birthday dinner. I don't know, he was a little confused, but he's like, remember the party that you went to and you wore that shirt? And he was like describing the shirt. I immediately knew he meant this one. And he was like, hey, I'm gonna bring you back some clothes from my country, because he was going to visit his family. And I mean, honestly, I was like, oh, that's cool. He messaged my mom like every single day. He would ask, he'd be like, do you have a boyfriend? He asked me if I had a boyfriend. He asked my mom if I had a boyfriend. My mom, because he texted her like almost every day, like he texted her so much, every time he would be like, how's Maddie? How's Maddie? How's Maddie? How's Maddie? And my mom one day, I remember she sent him, I got so pissed because, I got so pissed because he asked her for her to send pictures of me to him. And I was like, why would you do that? So she didn't send a picture just of me. She sent one of like me and my boyfriend to him. I'm just like, this is so weird. Like, why does he need a picture of me? Like, does he want to show his family? Like, why does he need a picture of me? I almost forgot the best part of this freaking story. Oh my god. When he asked me if I had a boyfriend, I was like, oh my god, this is like so weird. Like, why does he need to know if I have a boyfriend? Like, what? I told him yes. I was like, yes, I do have a boyfriend. And he's like, oh, what size pants is he? I had to get a new memory card, so I'm sorry. He was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna bring him in some shorts. So I'm sure we still have the shorts because I'm gonna find the shorts somewhere. Like, not here, but they're at his house. We're gonna find them. So he was like, oh, I'm gonna bring him in some shorts. So a couple shifts later, he's like, oh, I have your boyfriend's shorts. And he hands me this like Walmart bag, and he gives me these like really nice Izod, if you know the brand Izod. Oh, here's some Izod shorts, and he just gives them to me. They were brand new, still had the tags on them. Like, I don't know if he bought them or what. The shorts didn't end up fitting him actually, so we gave them to his dad. So I'm gonna see if we can still find the shorts or something, because I would like to show them to you guys. They're really nice shorts actually, but like the whole time I was like the whole ride home I was like keeping my voice down so low because I just didn't want to say anything. I'm like, is he like hiding something in the shorts? Like, is it like a camera? Is it like a microphone? Like, can he hear what I'm saying? Like, at one point, like a couple times actually, he was like, oh, come to my house and I can make you traditional meal. And like, he would always like not like completely say sentences. He'd be like, I'll make you traditional meal. And I was like, oh, it's okay. I think I'm gonna end this video here. Needless to say, I ended up quitting my job mainly actually because of him, and it got way too far. I felt so uncomfortable. Like, I didn't want to go to work ever. It's so hard to tell a story like this when like you guys didn't live this story. You know what I mean? I didn't want to give him my contact information. I didn't want to do that stuff. And, you know, I felt sort of pressured to do it. And, you know, I think it's just, I don't know, you guys. I just feel like there's gonna be comments that are like, oh, she's such a dramatic girl. Like, girls, like it's like the meme where like the Uber driver like slams on the brake once and they're like, I almost died. But like, I think I'm gonna have a part 2 to this. I want to actually read the messages that he sent me. Maybe I will like block out his name, put in like little inserts or whatever. He sent me like he would just like send me like random selfies, like creepy selfies. Not like creepy, but like they were just weird. Like, he would have like a complete straight face and he'd be like it was so weird, like out of nowhere. We would just like, I would say like one thing and he'd just be like, and again, like, you guys just, I just feel like there's gonna be so many hate comments, but you know what, it was my story. I was in the position, you know. I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, why don't you just ignore him? But I did feel like when I ignored him, because I did a couple times, and he would always get like super mad, and I remember always having this fear. I kind of became a little bit afraid of him, so I kind of just kept doing nice things for him and, you know, being nice to him until I just left my job, because, you know, then I just cut off talking to him. I didn't talk to him at all, and yeah, basically that's it. Like I said, I would like to have my mom in this video to kind of talk more on it, because I'm sure I missed some things that maybe she could pick up a little bit more on. I want to read messages. I'll of course bleep out all of his information so you guys can't find it, but maybe I'll have my boyfriend on here to talk about it. Maybe he'll bring on the shorts or something. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I hope it's not too long. And yeah, I'm sorry I have not filmed in a while, but I knew I wanted to film this video, so definitely be sure to subscribe, give this video a like, comment down below if you want to see more on this story, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. I really do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.